that's Nick.
And that's Joseph, and today we're here to talk about The Soul Collector, which will be available on digital and demand June 12th, 2020, courtesy of Shout Factory. It premiered at the 2019 Fantasia International Film Festival. It is the directorial debut of Harold Hölscher, and it is a gothic, I guess, psychological-ish supernatural thriller from South Africa.
Yeah. I'll try to describe the story.
Please do.
Okay. I couldn't quite tell the period, whether it's like set in modern times or like in the 70s perhaps.
It is, yeah, I don't know that it's entirely specified.
So set in South Africa, a married couple traveling with their young niece, travel to their home in like the farmland or the, like, well, how would you call that? Like the woods?
A farm.
Oh, yeah. it is a farm. Where they encounter a gentleman who says they worked for the husband's dad. So the farm was owned by the gentleman's dad who passed.
What's driving them there is bankruptcy.
So the gentleman who used to work for their dad, Lazarus, shows up looking for work. And the reason he shows up, well, he comes the first time with the young niece has like wandered off into the woods.
Looking for silkworms.
And finds Lazarus. They sort of connect. He brings her back home. The wife is freaked out by this black African man, very unsettled by him. But the husband seems more warm to him, ultimately offers him work after he does a few things like without being asked to do them. And things kind of decline, mainly for the wife, who is convinced that there's something off about Lazarus.
Yeah, she's having strange premonitions at night.
So what's off about Lazarus is the backstory for him was his daughter was killed in a fire, and while he's like there witnessing it and like in pain and agony begging for her to be brought back, what appears to be like a demon in the skies or God or something,
Norman Greenbaum's spirit in the sky,
basically says like, I can do that for you. So basically like he sold his soul to bring his daughter back. But the gag is his daughter is brought back like a demon.
She's a demon. Yep, and she's nestled in his little backpack that he carries.
So he carries around a knapsack or whatever.
Very basket head, yeah. Basket
with
case.
His daughter in there, and his job is to go collect the souls of those who are preparing to die. And when their souls leave their body, it's in the form of like a moth or a butterfly?
Moth.
A moth. And then his little demon daughter in the backpack eats it. Yeah.
He's a collector. That's my, that's Denzel Washington from The Bone Collector, the 1999 thriller.
Oh, I thought you were doing an Anthony Hopkins impersonation.
No, he's a collector. Yeah, that's not a good film either.
That's about it. It ends with him being... they kill the daughter, or the daughter's killed, and Lazarus is sent off to, like, I guess, heaven or hell, or
This
other world that's basically like the mountains by the farm that have this like pink tone to them.
Yes,
which was an interesting feature.
And Mary, the girl's name, her dead parents are there.
Yes, because the niece who's traveling with her aunt and uncle, she's with them because her parents died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very Faustian tale. And, anytime you make a deal with the devil, not good.
Well, here, I'll quickly go through my notes.
Sure.
And you can add to them. So my first thought was the young girl I really liked. She has a great look. She's very bright. Like when we first introduced to her on the car ride to the farm, she's talking about like she's educating her aunt and uncle about like sort of like tribal legends, and she already is familiar with this idea of this like entity that collects souls, and she explains that they're not always bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're good ghosts. Her name is Keita Luna.
Yeah, I liked her.
And you usually don't like precocious children.
She wasn't precocious though. She just seemed like smart, and I don't know. She didn't bother me. I liked her.
Children should be seen.
And normally you're correct. I normally don't like them. I also thought she represented like the innocence in children, because the family, especially her aunt, seems very skeptical of everything.
Well, in considering the location, South Africa, and the racial conflict that is inextricably bound up in their history, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the aunt...
Inge Beckmann, who you also just saw in a bit role in a terrible, terrible film called The Last Days of American Crime.
Oh.
By the way.
I don't even remember that movie. Oh, yes, I do. Who was she in that?
It's just some policewoman, I think.
Well, man, whoever styled her in this film, she looks like she's from like 1823. Mm-hmm. Like the way she dresses, her hair. She, you know, like you said, based in South Africa with the history they have with Black Africans and white Africans, and she just seems very like uncomfortable around this.
Excuse me. Yeah, her discomfort reads to me as like she's racist under.
Yeah, it transcends just like, oh, this random man who found my daughter and brought her back. Because even the husband is like, he brought our daughter back and he worked for my dad. Like, he seems like a chill guy. What's your fucking problem? Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. Lazarus has an interesting cough that he does when he's about to collect souls that reminded me of Lupita in Us.
Yeah, it's kind of got this beatboxing thing that is very creepy and ambient, and I liked. And
probably the only creepy thing.
Yeah, well, the opening scene is quite well done, actually, I think.
Sure.
Because I think eventually this film reveals too much of the demon daughter, but at first when you just see those little creepy eyes in the backpack, well done. I wish it had stayed more like that. But that actor is played by Tshamano Sebe.
I liked him a lot.
I think he's... You can keep going to the best part, but he... it was a supporting role in another South African film from a few years ago I really liked called Of Good Report from Jumail XT Kubeka, who has made is a South African filmmaker of some renown.
So my next note was that I didn't think this film was like scary. I wouldn't even call it like a horror film. And it kind of had like the basic like jump scares, like, oh, look in the mirror and there's a body behind me, and the ubiquitous bathtub scene that reminded me, well, of like so many films we've seen, like Amityville Horror.
Oh yeah.
La Llorona, and just so many films like the same bathtub scene. I thought that was pretty generic.
I will say that I think it is trying to be invested with kind of gothic folklore from the region, like because the moth and butterfly thing, like a butterfly is representative of life and a moth death, and it's playing with those things. The original title is 8, as in the number 8, which looks like a Möbius strip, which is
used at the end of the film when like the demon's banished, like it's burned into the outline of the farmhouse he's in. The aunt seems... So there's a scene where she says, like, I want to have a baby, and then her husband says, well, you do have a child, like our niece. And she's like, that's not my child. Like, you know, she obviously wants a child of her own. And in the end, she is pregnant. But she seems so invested in this girl who she doesn't seem to really want.
I think that with the white people in this movie, their chemistry is all off. Because even when Sarah, played by Inge Beckmann, says that the girl acknowledges that she's her aunt, she has such a lack of chemistry with William, played by Garth Breytenbach, that I'm like, oh, in my mind, they're brother and sister, not husband and wife, which... in my mind wanted it to be V.C. Andrews territory, and it didn't go there.
Yeah, that would have been something.
That would have been delicious. But I wrote a note about her statement in that scene too, because these women in these films written by men that can't give birth, or that are sterile or whatever. She talks about her rotten womb. I'm not a woman.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know that I would just so freely describe my failing insides as rotten and whatever. A note of fecundity.
Oh, God. Overall, this was a decent effort. It's not as scary as... I thought I was going to get something like Get Out mixed with the Candyman from the trailer. Yeah. And it's a quiet film. It's a slow burn.
It's a slow burn, which is usually a euphemism for art house, sure.
The Soul Collector is not like a bad guy. He's just kind of doing this to like meet his obligation for bringing his daughter back. he only collects 2 souls, right? So we really don't even see his little demon daughter in action as much. So it really is just kind of...
Yeah, and I think the daughter souls, I think he's down to the last 3 he needs to get before his tenure is achieved. Technically, it's very assured. Director of photography David Pienaar. I like the look of the film. I think all of the scenes with the locals have a vibe that I was into.
My favorite parts of the film are with the locals.
Yeah. There's repeated use of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, which is, of course, used in a number of Hollywood studio films like Dracula and The Mummy. It fits well enough here. It very much read like it was free to use, and that also. So the basic elements of the Soul Collector are really very familiar. Something terrible happening in somebody's family member, and you make a deal with the devil. In my mind, I kept thinking of Touch of Satan, which is this grindhouse 70s film that there's a really great Mystery Science Theater treatment of that is very similar to. And that movie also uses Amazing Grace as the refrain because it was in the public domain. But
well, this review's too long, so we should wrap it up.
Okay.
What would you give this film?
I would say 2.5 out of 5 is fair.
I would give it 2.5 out of 5 as well. Anything else?
No.
All right, bye.
Bye.